Welcome students of Form 3. This is video 2 of a two-parter, and this video will be more about how important tolerance is. And at the end of this video, meta aqui, you have to be able to account for the cultural diversity of the Caribbean region. Do not cuenta. So describe it, explain it, and really outline what is going on there. All of those things together actually. Do not cuenta. We've seen that Caribbean culture can be architecture, that it can be music, that it can be language, and it can possibly like how you style your hair. We've also seen that the Caribbean is very culturally diverse, and an ethnic group is a group of people with the same origins, from India, Eastern Asia, from Europe, from the Caribbean. And also we've seen that people in the Caribbean originate from the Dominican Republic, originate from the Netherlands, can originate from Venezuela, from different areas around the world, including Madeira, and including the Arabic world, Lebanon. The Caribbean is a very cultural diverse region, meaning, yes, it's very cultural diverse, is that it's a mix, un mezcla di differente cultura. Yes, it's a mix of different cultures. So the Caribbean culture is forming and made up from elements of different cultures and creates a new, te crea un nuevo cultura Caribbean. Yes, but that is made up of elements of different cultures. That is what I told in the last video. Yes, and this creates a new culture, like you can see here, un cultura nueva, made up out of elements of the Dominican Republic, the Netherlands, Venezuela, North American influences, Arabic influences from Lebanon, Madeira, all those things put together create a new culture. Tolerance is very important. We need to live alongside one another. So tolerance means you don't accept each other, it's lower, it's more simpler. You tolerate each other. You're able to live alongside each other peacefully. That's actually what it is and what it means. Different cultural patterns in our region. The diversity of cultures in the Caribbean is one of our most exciting features. It's interesting, it's exciting, but it's also el reto, or reto. Yeah, that means a challenge because all those different cultures also have to be able to live together actually. So that's a challenge too. So living alongside one another is a challenge. To do that without fights, without hate, without intolerance, without huge violence, without huge insults of each other, without disagreeing what to do with the country, because you have to live together. You live in a society. Ding un sociedad. You live in a, like we say in Dutch, samenleving. So living together can be challenging. The reto, if I say it correctly. It's a challenge. Yes? But when a society is healthy, we see that these cultures are able to live alongside each other peacefully, have contact, create friendships, maybe even fall in love, and also be able to live and think about their country together. Although they have different cultures, belief systems, music they love, food they eat, languages they speak, they are able to live together in one country. Yes. So in a healthy society, so a society can be healthy, like people also can be healthy. People live alongside each other, although they have different religion, although they have different languages, although they have a different culture, they live alongside one another. And this is what we call cultural diversity. Curacao, Aruba, and all the Dutch Caribbean islands are very cultural diverse. But Curacao especially, with people from all around the world living on the island. Exam tip. So this book, these paragraphs that you see here, they have like this kind of post-it section that you can see here, actually. And I've enlarged it here, as you can see. You need to be familiar with the sequence of settlement of different ethnic groups and influence that each of these ethnic groups has brought to the region. So each of these ethnic groups brought influences to the region. And you need to be able to name, you need to be able to identify these. That's really important. So what's the sequence of those groups? You'll see this figure in your book, actually here. And here we have the timeline of settlement of different ethnic groups. So you see it here, the timeline. So when did it happen? Of settlement. So when did they came to the Caribbean to live there? Of different ethnic groups. So they came from elsewhere to live here. So in a way, nobody is like from here, only they came to here from different parts of the world to settle here, to create a new life for themselves. So what is the sequence? Yes, 4000 BC, meaning before Christ. So we start counting in the year of birth of Christ, in Nascimento di Cristo, yeah, some 2000 years ago. So we also have before Christ. We now live in 2024, 2024, yeah, Patras e Nascimento di Cristo, after birth of Christ. So 4000 BC is more than 6,000 años pasá. It's more than 6,000 years ago. We had the first human artifacts, like on Curacao, we find murals that the Kakatiyo and the archaic people before the Kakatiyo made on our island. Then in 1492 we have European settlement. The Europeans come live in the Caribbean and colonize the Caribbean. From the 1500s and onwards, African people are brought by the Europeans to the Caribbean. They are brought to here. 1845 and 1849, first the Indians come to work here as indentured laborers. So they're not slaves, but they sign a contract and they go work on the plantations instead of the slaves. In 1845, people from India, Eastern Asia, and 1849, also people from China. And they come here because slavery ended, slavery was abolished during the second half of the 19th century, during this time. And instead of the slaves, the indentured laborers from India and China began doing the work instead of the slaves. And from 1850 till 100 years later, 1950, we have people coming in from the Middle East, for instance, people from Lebanon coming to work in our oil refinery. The Isla, the Shell, also a lot of people from the Middle East, from Syria, but mainly Lebanon came to work there. But also people from Madeira, in our case. In our case, also people from Madeira and Suriname came working here in the factories, but mainly the oil refineries. So here we see from top to bottom, we see the timeline of settlement and we see the sequence in which that happens. Sequence means the chronology. What happens first? What happened first, and what happened later on, and what happened lastly. So we see this actually on this page happening. Yes, and please look at the words that I've put a cloud around, because if you don't know what they mean, even after this explanation, you might have to look them up into a dictionary. Yeah, make it a custom for yourself that you use a dictionary. This is a Papiamento one. But other dictionaries, when you come across words you actually do not understand. Okay, almost done, people. Few minutes. So indentured laborers means people signing a contract and going to work in the sugar, coffee, and cotton plantations instead of the slaves. They were not treated very good. The people were racist towards the Chinese people and the Indian people. But nowadays, the Chinese and the Indian people are entrepreneurs. They have their own companies, they have their own supermarkets or their own clothing stores. So they changed their destiny, you could say. Indentured laborers. The key points. So also in your book, At the bottom here, next to the sequence of events, we have the key points below the yellow post-it. And the key points is what you have to remember if you go to study this paragraph of the paragraph. And to the right, you see something connected, because here you see the first indigenous people of the Caribbean, like you can see here. And here you see the Caribbean diversity as it is nowadays. Here, for instance, the flag of Barbados. Here's the flag of Jamaica, the flag of Aruba, and some others you might be able to recognize actually. The key points is what afterwards is important and you really have to remember. Yeah? And you have to connect this with the rest I just explained in the last few minutes. So the key points are Caribbean culture consists what is a part of Caribbean culture of elements from many different ethnic groups. Europeans are an ethnic group, Latinas are an ethnic group, people from the Dominican Republic, people from Haiti, people from Lebanon, from the Arabic world, people from Asia, Chinese people. They all come together in the Caribbean, and they create together what is Caribbean culture. So perhaps it's weird, but also Chinese people and Lebanese people, they contribute to Caribbean culture. 2, the ancient culture of the people who first settled on the islands is being rediscovered and celebrated. So these people are getting, again, attention. The Taino, the Karategio, the Western Taino, all kinds of people, they're being rediscovered, their languages, their culture, their value, and there's like renewed attention for these people of the Caribbean. So that's very important to remember. And point 3 is many aspects of Caribbean culture attract visitors. So we have to think of tourism from outside the region. So valuing these ancient cultures and valuing Caribbean culture is valuable in itself. As an historian, as a sociologist, this is really important, but it also can contribute to the economic well-being of the Caribbean because it attracts people from outside the Caribbean, scientists, scholars, but also people like tourists who are really sincerely interested in Caribbean culture and in indigenous culture, in the ancient cultures of the Caribbean. Yes, look at these 3 key points and you'll be better prepared for the test. Ring the bell if you want to be subscribed. Let me know if you have questions, also during class, and I hope to see you alive and well during class.